Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got a really interesting combo to try that I think could give us some pretty decent results if it works out the way I hope it does, or these shells could just be very limited. It legitimately could go either way, so we're just gonna have to try it and see what happens. But as for the loads I got today, I brought out some of these old school Federal Mag-Shok turkey loads with the flight control wad as well. These ones are a 20 gauge 3-inch 1 5/16 ounce payload of lead 5s, moving about 1185 feet per second. We have tested these once or twice previously with some kind of wishy-washy results. It's lead in a 20 gauge. Usually lead in a 20 gauge is kind of a 30 yard and in combo, but with these flight control wads, I think we might be able to push it a little farther than that if we can find the right performing choke combo for it. I don't even think Federal makes the Mag-Shok lineup anymore, and this is kind of the original flight control wad with the big square flaps on the side, not the flex wad. These are better in my experience. They're copper plated and buffered as well, so in theory, if we find the right combo, these should work. And maybe that's today's choke. We're just gonna have to try it and see. But for our setup, I brought out the Stevens 301 20 gauge. It's got a vector red dot up on top with a 26-inch barrel, and we're gonna be running this choke. Doesn't look like anything fancy from the outside, but this is an HS Strut UnderTaker, which is a pretty budget choke tube in the grand scheme of things. I think they're like 20 or 25 bucks, but it's a 572 constriction that actually measures a little closer to 575, and it's completely smooth inside. There's no porting, there's no rings or steps or straight rifling or anything like that. So this is a little bit more open of a choke that's going to give us a little more breathing room with those shells, and with no porting or nothing special, it might work out with that flight control wad. So we're going to find out what happens one way or the other, because this might be the combo that actually works. But for today's test, we're running it the same as we usually do any other turkey test. So I've got the turkey target at 40 yards and the chrono so we can get our velocity. So let's get you guys to view that target. We'll take our shot and we'll see what happens with these older Federal Mag-Shok flight control loads when we put them through this HS Strut choke. It might work, it might not, but let's see what happens and if it might actually be 40 yard capable. All right, that shell gave us 1109 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1185. So from the 26-inch barrel we have, we aren't quite seeing their claim, but still a little over 1100 is perfectly fine for a lead 5 out to 40 yards for a turkey hunt. But did they actually give us any sort of usable 40 yard pattern? Let's go check it out and see. All right, well, now we're down here at our 40 yard paper, and unfortunately, this is kind of what I was expecting to see. I was hoping we would see a better result based on what the shells are and what choke we ran it through, but that isn't really the case. Do we have a dead bird at 40? Yes, technically we do. There's one definitely right through the spine there, and maybe another one or two down closer towards the bottom of his neck, as well as several in the body. Our core might have favored a little bit to the left, but if you look at our entire pattern, I think the pattern as a whole is actually pretty centered up, but the left side of it is definitely a little bit hotter than the right for sure. Now, when I say core over here on the left, that's about as loose of a term as you can get, because we really don't have much of one. It might be a little bit hotter just on the left edge of that turkey paper than it is anywhere else in the target, but that might be stretching it a little bit there. If we had that centered up a little better, then it might have hit him with a couple more pellets, but either way, this is still not a pattern that I would ever really want to hunt with, at least not to 40 yards. Now, of course, like I mentioned earlier, lead in a 20 gauge can be right on the fence out to 40 yards. Inside of 30, yeah, it's absolutely going to do the job just fine. But pushing it a little farther than that, there's only a couple loads and choke combos out there that I would actually trust out there a little bit farther range, and even then, they can be a little iffy sometimes as well. And I mean, I guess you could technically call this 40 yard capable if you had your core centered up, but it's just not impressive. We just have shot kind of just covering everything on the paper here. It's not super even either. Might have a few more pellets here than everywhere else, but it's pretty thin, pretty splotchy, and just not all that great. Would have killed the turkey, but not something I want to use. So I was hoping to see a little bit better through that combo for sure. And this is another scenario where I think we need to go one of two ways. First option, and there are going to be plenty of people that comment about this, I'm sure, is that it's a flight control wad. We have to run it through a cylinder or improved cylinder choke and stuff like that to get it to perform, even though it's a turkey load, and that's not at all true. But maybe we go to a full choke. Maybe a gun with a fixed full might help these out some. Or on the flip side, these are a lead load that may not be the best loading to begin with. Maybe we go super tight, even if we have a flight control wad, and see what happens. Because maybe we just completely overcompensate for the flight control wad and completely constrict everything else down. It could work. It could ruin our pattern even more. But I was hoping for better out of this for sure. Although I'm not entirely surprised. So unfortunately, I think that kind of speaks for itself. We've seen plenty of lead patterns in 20 gauge that are the same or better than that. I mean, even a basic field load is going to give you a pattern like that through that kind of choke combo. So even though Federal may not make these anymore, I don't know. They're probably not worth picking up if you see them at your local shop or something. Unless you want a basic, small game upland type of load or something, they could work for that. But I was hoping for better, that's for sure. But that's why you test different combos. Sometimes they're going to surprise you, and sometimes they're not going to live up to kind of the hopes or expectations. And here's the flight control wad from those shells. You can see it's the one with the big square flaps, which I have found to be a much better performer than the flight control flex wad with the big slots down the side, especially when it comes to buckshot anyway. But there's nothing special to see, no major damage or anything, nothing stuck down in there, and looks exactly like a flight control typically does. So it's just another case of lead being pretty limited in a 20 gauge, at least past 30 yards or so. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance right there? I think we pretty well covered it. It's not a great turkey pattern. It could kill the bird out to 40, but it's not something I would trust past probably 30 yards or so. And ultimately, I'm not entirely surprised. It's a lead load in 20 gauge. We already know they're pretty limited at the best of times, but we have seen numerous combos that give us that pattern or better. Even a field load would give you that kind of pattern if you wanted to try it at 40 yards from a 20 gauge with lead. So kind of is what it is. I was hoping that choke combo with that constriction might work in our favor. Doesn't really look like it helped us much at all. So now I think we probably kind of got to go one of two directions. We either go really tight or much more open. And who knows, maybe even a fixed choke gun would give us a pretty decent looking result. I don't know. I was hoping for better, but I'm not entirely surprised at the end of the day. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these old Federal Mag-Shok lead 20 gauge loads, and if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is this a pattern or combo you would hunt with? Would you push it to 40 yards if so, or would you keep it inside of 30? Or is that just not what you're going to want to hunt with when it comes to 20 gauge? And what other combos do you want to see us run those shells through that you think might be a decent performer? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.